Sudden flash of lightning split the sky in two, illuminating the drenched highway where a young single father named Ian fought against the storm, his wipers barely keeping up with the sheets of rain hammering his old car. He had just picked up his little daughter from school, his mind crowded with worries about overdue bills, a custody hearing scheduled for next week, and a job that barely held together. But all his thoughts froze the moment he saw a red SUV pulled over on the roadside and a woman struggling desperately to loosen a tire bolt as the rain soaked her from head to toe. Something inside him, maybe instinct, maybe kindness he couldn't shake off even on his worst days, forced him to stop. Because storms had never scared him as much as letting someone suffer alone. If you believe kindness and second chances still matter in this world, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Grandma Dearie. Your support helps us bring more heart-touching stories to life. The storm only grew harsher when Ian stepped out, rain piercing his clothes like needles. The woman looked startled at first, unsure whether to trust a stranger in the middle of a raging storm. She seemed elegant even in her soaked state, her expression a mix of frustration and fear. Ian didn't ask many questions. He simply took the tire iron from her trembling hands and began working on the stubborn bolts with a determination that came from a life full of battles he rarely talked about. His daughter watched from the back seat, clutching her school bag, whispering to herself that her dad was a hero. Ian didn't feel like one, he felt like a man barely surviving. As he worked in silence, the woman noticed the exhaustion in his movements, the weariness in his eyes, and the gentle way he kept glancing at his daughter to reassure her. He was soaked to the bone, yet focused, steady, unwilling to let the storm or his own troubles slow him down. When he finally got the spare tire in place, he offered her a faint smile, the kind that came from a heart trying to stay hopeful despite everything. She thanked him, her voice trembling with a sincerity that caught him off guard. But before he could even ask if she'd be all right, another roar of thunder pushed them back into their cars, and they parted ways without exchanging names. What Ian didn't know, what he couldn't have imagined, was that the woman he helped was Judge Zara Mirani, the very judge scheduled to oversee his custody appeal in 7 days. She had read his file earlier that week, a struggling single father with a past mistake, a father fighting desperately to keep his daughter with him. And in that moment by the roadside, witnessing his quiet strength and selfless character, she saw a truth about him no paperwork could show. The following days were a blur for Ian. He prepared documents, borrowed money to pay legal fees, and reassured his daughter that no matter what happened, he would always fight for her. Yet deep down, fear ate away at him. His past, one mistake from years before, kept haunting him like a shadow he could never outrun. He had changed, worked hard, stayed honest, but life didn't always reward good intentions. He was terrified of losing the only person who gave his life meaning. When the day of the hearing finally arrived, Ian stood in the courtroom, hands trembling, trying to remain calm. But the moment Judge Zara walked in, he froze, recognizing her instantly. His heart dropped. He expected the worst, he thought she would see him as nothing more than a stranger who had caught her in a vulnerable moment, maybe even judge him more harshly. But instead, her eyes softened the second they met his. She remembered the man who had helped her in the pouring rain, not knowing who she was, not asking for anything in return, not hesitating for even a heartbeat. Throughout the hearing, she listened carefully, not just to the case, but to the person behind it. She noticed the way Ian held his daughter's hand, how the little girl looked up at her father with trust stronger than fear, how every word he spoke was layered with the unshakable love of a man who had already sacrificed so much. Zara wasn't there to reward him for helping her, she was there to deliver justice. But sometimes justice wasn't just about laws, it was about truth. And the truth was that Ian was a father who deserved a chance, a man who had proven through actions, not excuses, what kind of person he was. When she delivered her decision in his favor, Ian nearly collapsed with relief. His daughter hugged him tightly, whispering that she knew he'd win because good people don't lose forever. Zara watched quietly, hiding the emotion in her eyes, grateful that fate had allowed her to see the man behind the case. As Ian left the courtroom, he glanced back, offering her a nod filled with gratitude deeper than words. She simply smiled, knowing she had made the right choice. If this story touched your heart, please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Grandma Dearie for more emotional life stories that remind us of humanity's hidden beauty.